You know, when you're reading ancient texts, sometimes you come across these moments that feel, well, almost like they're out of a fable. And today, we're going to dive into one of the most curious of all, talking animals in the Bible. But as we're about to see, the real meaning behind these stories, it's probably far deeper than you think.
All right, so let's just get right to the big question, the one I'm sure is on your mind. Why on earth do animals talk in the Bible? I mean, are we supposed to take this literally? Is it all just a metaphor? It's one of those details that can make these texts feel really, really strange. But believe it or not, the answer tells us something pretty profound about the worldview of the people who first told these stories.
Okay, so when I say talking animal in the Bible, I bet one image pops into your head almost immediately, right? The serpent in the Garden of Eden. It's the classic example, the one everyone knows. But what if I told you it wasn't the only one? Not even close.
Actually, it's pretty fascinating. These talking animals show up at the very beginning and near the very end of the whole biblical narrative. It's like they're these literary bookends. And that tells us this isn't just some random, bizarre event. No, this is a deliberate, meaningful device the authors are using.
Okay, let's dive in. We begin, of course, with the serpent. And think about what the serpent says. Its words, they aren't just speech, are they? They're a kind of weapon. This is no casual chat. The serpent's words are designed to be seductive, to plant seeds of doubt, and with just a few sentences, they introduce the entire concept of spiritual death into the story.
Okay, now let's jump forward in the story to a completely different character, a donkey. Yeah, a talking donkey. In the Book of Numbers, there's this prophet, Balaam, and he's on a journey, but he's completely blind to the fact that an angel of the Lord is right there blocking his path. His donkey, though? The donkey sees the angel perfectly. So after getting beaten for stopping, the Lord opens the donkey's mouth and it speaks. But this time, it's not with deception. It's with these totally logical, corrective questions.
And that brings us all the way to our final bookend. Way at the climax of the Bible, in the book of Revelation, an eagle is seen flying through the heavens, crying out this stark warning of impending judgment. Just like the serpent and the donkey, its speech isn't just chatter. It's a divine message, and it has cosmic importance.
So, okay, we've got a serpent, a donkey, and an eagle. From where we're standing today, in our modern world, each of these sounds like a pretty shocking one-off miracle. But what if the ancient world had a completely different way of looking at it? What if the real miracle wasn't that these few animals spoke, but that all the other ones had gone silent?
You see, our default setting today is to think of these talking animals as bizarre exceptions to the rule, right? But for a lot of ancient Jewish writers, it was the exact opposite. They believed that a world where all creatures spoke a common language, that was the original natural state. For them, the silence of most animals was the real abnormality, a tragic consequence of the fall. So where does this idea come from? Well, a key source is a text called the Book of Jubilees, written way back around 150 BCE. And it says pretty explicitly that back in the Garden of Eden, all the animals had one language and one tongue. So from that perspective, when the serpent tempted Eve, it wasn't some kind of crazy miracle. It was just using a skill that all creatures had at the time. And I want to be clear, this wasn't just some fringe idea from one obscure book. It was a belief held by some major thinkers across centuries. You have the philosopher Philo writing around the year 40, and then decades later, the great historian Josephus. Both of them wrote about a time when animals could speak. This shows a really consistent tradition that imagined the original creation as this place of universal communication.
Okay, so if the idea of talking animals was once considered normal, why do they only pop up in these very specific, super dramatic moments? Well, the answer is that their speech is never, ever random. It's always what you might call a theologically loaded event.
Think of it like this. When a talking animal shows up, it's like a narrative flare being shot into the sky. It's a signal to the reader that says, hey, pay attention. Something supernatural is happening right now. It's a sign that the boundary between the divine world and our world is getting thin, and a message is breaking through. And when you actually look at them all together, you start to see a pattern. Each animal's speech serves a very specific theological function. The serpent's voice, that introduces deception. The donkey's voice, it corrects a prophet who's become blind to divine reality. And the eagle's voice, that announces a judgment that people on earth can't even see yet.
But here's the really crucial point. In these stories, the animal often acts like a mirror, and what it reflects back is humanity's own spiritual blindness. Think about it. Balaam is a prophet, a guy whose whole job is to see the divine. Yet it's his donkey who has clear vision. The eagle sees what's coming in the future, while the humans below are just going about their day, completely oblivious. The animal's speech is there to reveal the human's lack of perception.
So, where does that leave us? What are we supposed to take away from all of this? How does understanding this ancient perspective change the way we read these strange and kind of wonderful stories?
Well, at the end of the day, it becomes pretty clear that these accounts aren't really about zoology. They're not trying to teach us anything about animal biology. They're about theology. And maybe even more than that, they're about us, about the human condition. They use the natural world to reveal supernatural truths. So, to kind of wrap it all up, these talking animals are really powerful literary tools. They're used to signal a moment of divine warning or intervention, and they challenge us to look past the question of, hey, did this really happen? And instead ask, what is this story revealing about us? They really do point back to this lost ancient idea of a world where all of creation was much more deeply connected.
And that leaves us with one final lingering thought to chew on. These ancient storytellers used the voice of an animal to expose a prophet's blindness, to warn about what's to come. And it just makes you wonder, if the natural world around us could find its voice today, what truths about ourselves might we be forced to hear?